Supporters of Zohran Mamdani say voters chose hope over fear. President Donald Trump says they chose communism over common sense. And now Democrats and Republicans across the country wonder what New York City's first Democratic Socialist mayor will mean for the political landscape. Welcome to Sunday Briefing. I'm Colleen Marshall. Democrats claim some big wins on election night this week, but already both parties are speculating about what it all means for 2026.
Yesterday was a big night for America and a big night for the Democratic Party.
Democrats are taking victory laps this week after big wins in key states. Democrat Abigail Spanberger will be Virginia's first female governor. In New Jersey's governor's race, Democrat Mikey Sherrill defeated Trump ally Jack Ciattarelli. And in the most watched mayor's race in the nation, the self-described Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani claimed a convincing win.
What are these election results? They're a bolt of lightning and a wake-up call to Donald Trump.
I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody.
The president said voters are blaming Republicans for the government shutdown, and that cost votes Tuesday night. And he said his party suffered because the name Donald Trump was not on the ballot. Congressional Republicans downplayed the GOP losses.
What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming.
Here in Ohio, Republican gubernatorial hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy was quick to react with a warning for his party. He called it lessons with no sugarcoating.
We got our asses handed to us in New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City. Democrats swept all three. There's two key lessons for Republicans. Listen carefully. Number one, our side needs to focus on affordability. Make the American dream affordable. Bring down costs, electric costs, grocery costs, healthcare costs, and housing costs, and lay out how we're going to do it. And number two, cut out the identity politics. It doesn't suit Republicans. It's not for us. That's the woke left's game, not ours. We don't care about the color of your skin or your religion. We care about the content of your character. That's who we are.
The Democrat in the race for governor, Amy Acton, mocked Ramaswamy's take on the election with this post, saying it appears Vivek has realized that his agenda favoring billionaires, special interests, and lobbyists that makes life more expensive for Ohioans might not be the blueprint he thought it was. Or maybe the guy who flies around the state on an $80,000 a month private jet knows he's full of it on costs. And former Congressman Tim Ryan, who continues to flirt with a possible run for governor on the Democrat ticket, also jumped into the fray by also pointing out that the billionaire flies a private jet and, as a presidential candidate, threw jet fuel on the culture war fires. Ryan also says a lot of candidates woke up worried. So November 2025 leading to rhetoric, accusations, and speculation about November 2026.
And I think that when we go into next year in the midterms, we're very bullish about the outcome. We have an extraordinary record to run on.
As Democrats, we will continue to make clear to the American people that you deserve better.
Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost will be term limited out of office next year, and a fellow Republican, Auditor Keith Faber, is hoping to replace him. We are trying to get Faber to sit down for an interview about his campaign. But two Democrats are also running to be AG, hoping to be the first Democrat to hold the office since Richard Cordray about 15 years ago. This morning, you will meet both of them, and we begin with Elliot Forhan.
So I'm running to tax the rich, to stand up to bullies, and to apply the law equally to everybody, including the rich and the powerful. You know, I'm a recent former member of the Ohio House of Representatives. I served as a state representative, but more important than that, you know, I beat in court once already Dave Yost's lawyers, and I'm suing him again right now, together with other corrupt Ohio politicians.
Elliot Forhan was stripped of his committee positions after being accused by fellow lawmakers of a pattern of harassment, hostility, and intimidation. He's suing them now for defamation and says the lawsuit will not be a distraction.
This lawsuit, in addition to being about my character as a person, right, which is all important in our system of electoral politics in Ohio and in the United States. It's about standing up to bullies, and it's about applying the law. It's about prosecuting misconduct, right, including misconduct by powerful, corrupt Ohio politicians.
Forhen says he is opposed to the school voucher system and the continuing funding system for public schools that the Supreme Court ruled unconstitutional.
And this was 1997 in the early 2000s. And what they said and this was the Ohio Supreme Court, they found it was unconstitutional because, why? Because the percentage contribution by the state government was too low. Well, you want to know what it is right now compared to back then? It's about 3/4 today. 3/4, the percentage at least, what it was. It's about 31% right now compared to back in 1997, 42%. So 42% in 1997 was what the court said was unconstitutionally and we're at 31 right now.
What is the one thing you want voters to know about you?
That I'm going to fight for them. Right, and again, I'll repeat something I said a moment ago. Right, I'm running, for a few simple things. Right, tax the rich, stand up to bullies, and apply the law equally to everybody, including the rich and the powerful.
Upper Arlington City Council member and attorney John Kulowitz is also seeking the Democratic nomination for Attorney General.
Because we are at a turning point in our history now, and I want to make sure that the voters have a choice next year between more of the same, which has gotten us into this mess, and a fresh new approach which can help to get us through it.
So tell me about the kinds of cases that you are seeing the current administration handle that you would have done differently or maybe not even taken up? I mean, what's going on at the AG's office that you think there's a need for change?
Well, one thing that I would change is to restore the focus to things that are happening in Ohio. Our current Attorney General has shown great interest in becoming involved in litigation in courts around the nation on issues of importance to the federal government and administration. I think it's much more important to bring those people home, literally and figuratively, and be working on things in Ohio that matter to people in Ohio, making sure we're fighting consumer fraud, making sure we're protecting our people in nursing homes, making sure we're protecting our elder citizens. Things that matter to Ohioans would be the priority for me.
Kulowitz says it's vital that the top law officer in the state is an experienced lawyer.
I've been a lawyer for over 40 years. I've worked in a highly competitive environment the whole time at a law firm here in Columbus. I've argued and won cases in the Supreme Court of the United States, Supreme Court of Ohio, federal and state courts around the nation.
What's the one thing you want voters to know about you?
He cares about my paycheck.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good campaign line.
Well, it's exactly what I would do as Attorney General. I want to make the economy of Ohio work for everybody in Ohio. I want to start by calling attention, like any good lawyer, call the client's attention to problems that are on the horizon. We have a calamity coming up with the property tax unless the General Assembly does something very significant real soon. I want to fight consumer fraud that steals our money. I want to fight corporate antitrust violations that raise our prices, wage theft that robs us of what we've earned, unlawful discrimination that stands in the way of our success.
Fragile peace continues in the Middle East. You'll hear from one of the leaders responsible for encouraging support for the president's ceasefire plan after the break. The United States is pushing a draft resolution to the United Nations Security Council that would support President Trump's Gaza peace plan and create an international force that would provide security in Gaza. Israeli leaders continue to push for Arab and international support for the fragile peace plan, all while facing continued resistance from Hamas. And here in the U.S., as I learned, the Israeli consulate is part of the effort to make sure the world remembers all of this started on October 7th, 2023, with a large-scale invasion by Hamas.
It's the human nature. The news cycle, as you know much better than I do, is very short. There's always some new headline that's coming in. And regrettably, the massacre of Hamas on October 7, barbarous and atrocious as it was a bit forgotten several weeks after it happened. And new pictures came in.
The new pictures emerging now show a devastated, war-torn Gaza Strip, emaciated, starving children, and desperate, homeless families. Yuval Donio Gideon, who is the consul for public diplomacy at the Israeli consulate in New York, says he knows it's difficult to keep those images in context.
The context is that this war was imposed on us. The context is that the barbarian terrorists did horrible things that we want to prevent them from doing so. The context is that they had hostages that we wanted to take out. And the context is that Hamas terrorists very cynically use their own people as human shields. They put the people between them and the Israeli soldiers, right? Where we put our civilians behind us and put our soldiers between the civilians and the terrorists. They do the other way around. So this is a context.
And he says those who are pro-Palestinian should be anti-Hamas.
We understand that's not going to be an easy road, but we also think that our neighbors, the Palestinians, understand that the alternative is worse, not only for Israel, also for them. So will Hamas voluntarily give up its power? Probably not. We have no illusions. Hamas is a radical Islamist organizations that couldn't care less about what the people think. It's not a Jeffersonian democracy. And it's going to be a bumpy road in the best case.
Before I let you go, what do you want the people of Ohio, the people of America, to know about this situation?
I think maybe the most important take I would like them to have is that Israel and Ohio, Israel and America have been in close relations for decades. There's a reason to that. It goes well above interest. This reason is the values. Eventually, the American people and the Israeli people, by and large, see eye to eye to so many things. People are grateful for America's support, and people believe in the American values and the American dream. Although we're Israel, we're not the 51 country, but we feel like family to America. I think this is a take that I would like the people of Ohio to have as well.
When we come back, will Democrat victories on Tuesday carry over into Ohio in 2026? Our experts weigh in after the break. Welcome back. It's time for our roundtable discussion. And with us this morning, we have Mark Weaver, a Republican strategist, and from the Democrat side of the aisle, a strategist and former congressional candidate Morgan Harper. And this week, we were watching local races, but a lot of attention was going to a mayoral race in New York and to some governor's races in the state of Virginia, as well as the state of New Jersey, because everybody wanted to see what this portends for 2026. It was a big night for Democrat candidates, including a Democrat, self-described Democrat socialist in New York. So I'm going to ask each of you, what do you think those results mean as we head into 2026? Morgan?
Well, yeah, it was certainly a great night for Democrats. And I think what's interesting is actually how many similarities there are between what the candidates were, both in Zoran Mandami in his case in New York and the types of issues he was talking about, and we saw in those New Jersey and Virginia races. All about affordability, in particular, for example, energy costs, data centers, how much electricity is going up, how much it costs to just get by each day. So even though they represent perhaps traditionally thought of as different wings of the party, I think they're all kind of honing in on that same message.
And the messaging is likely going to be money for both parties next year. But what do you think about what happened Tuesday? What does it mean for 2026?
Well, the races were fun to watch, but two blue states and a blue city isn't really a weather vane for the rest of the country. It'd be like going down to the vegan market and taking a poll on hot dogs. And when everybody was against hot dogs, you say, America doesn't like hot dogs. I did a poll. So fun to watch, but a blue state went blue, another blue state went blue, and a blue city went blue. Not really surprising.
Yeah, that's true. And I have to ask you, I know Zoran Mamdani represents really a progressive part of the party. And he's offering things that to New Yorkers sound really good. Free childcare, free transportation, talking about controlling rent. But the question has to be asked, who pays for that? Who pays? Childcare costs money. child care workers have to be paid a decent living wage. Who pays for it? How does that work?
Yeah, and I mean, I think he will have to figure out how to govern, and that's a lot of what comes after you win an election and how you are able, especially at the city level when you don't fully control the budget at the state level, to get the resources to pull off your agenda. But, you know, I think we're hearing from a lot of candidates, again, all across the Democratic ideological spectrum about the need to hold some of the corporate tax breaks accountable, for example, that we shouldn't be giving away so much taxpayer money to large corporations that already have a lot of revenue. Looking at different ways in which we can bring down costs by having policies that are not going to, for example, allow healthcare companies to just say, we're going to make up a price when you need a surgery. Have some consistency and transparency there. There's lots of different ways that we can do this, but it starts with making sure that we're running the economy in a way that's going to serve everyone.
Vivek Ramaswamy said that he believes Republicans have to start focusing on costs, on issues, on making life more affordable for Americans, and that your party should get away from identity politics. It seems odd from someone who really never stood up and said, stop all the trans bills, stop the bathroom bills. Do you think this will reshape what Republicans do in Ohio and what they concentrate on?
Well, affordability is a good thing to talk about, and that's what Mandami talked about. We all remember the 6th grade student council candidate who ran for office promising no recess. It's one thing to promise it, it's another thing to make it happen. I think what we saw in New York was a candidate who promises to rob Peter to pay Paul can count on the vote of Paul. And that's the votes that Mandami got, people who want to be on the receiving end of the money. But as you mentioned, someone's going to pay for it. And a lot of those people are now leaving New York City because they don't want to be on the hook for the bill.
All right, we're about to go to break, so quickly.
Final word, I would just say, you look at the numbers. I mean, one of the most reliable voting blocks for Mandami was people who are very well educated in New York City. And so, I don't think that we can trust that the traditional way of thinking about how politics is going is going to be the same. Americans across economic, racial, all sorts of lines are angry and feeling like life is not affordable.
And they're all facing cost issues. And we will be right back. We're going to talk about a politician we lost this week. We'll be back. Former Vice President Dick Cheney died this week at the age of 84. And in my lifetime, and Mark, I want to see if you agree with this, we're a little older than Morgan, but he was probably the most powerful vice president we've had, at least in my lifetime, because there was a thought that he was running the George Bush administration. Do you agree with that?
Very competent person. He was chief of staff to Gerald Ford in the 1970s when he was a very young person. And people may remember George W. Bush tasked Dick Cheney with finding his vice presidential candidate. And then, here, behold, it's Dick Cheney. He was very powerful. In some ways, it was a partnership. And a public servant, and prayers to his family.
Yeah, he did spend his life in service to the nation. And Democrats as well this week were reflecting on him. What do you think Cheney's mark was on the government?
I mean, certainly, condolences to his immediate family, but I think we also have to reckon with some of the legacy of Dick Cheney with regards to foreign policy, failed foreign policy that resulted in the lives of those abroad and also here at home, including a lot of young people and my age in particular in Ohio that really were deeply affected by that failed foreign policy.
Yeah, there was a belief that he was the driving engine to our involvement in the war in Iraq, and that's certainly something that history will judge, as it always does, usually when we're a little more distant from it. Thank you both for being with us. Thank you for being with us as well. We hope you can join us next Sunday on Sunday Briefing.